I want to bring your attention to Oklahoma City Thunder. One of the most exciting young players recently had a season-ending injury. Chet Holmgren is out for the season, out for the entire season with a Lisfranc injury in his right foot. So he sustained it playing in the Pro-Am game in Seattle. And this news is an interesting moment for Oklahoma City because they had, of course, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander becoming post Chris Paul exit, becoming kind of the face of that organization. Josh Giddey, very exciting young player who perked up the ears of everyone, including yours. I remember we had some conversations about Giddey and how exciting he was to watch. And then you signed Chet Holmgren, who could be, on one hand, is he like a unicorn type? Is he Kevin Durant or is he Kristaps Porzingis? Is he something else? That was a pretty interesting question. No real clear blueprint to what he could do in the NBA. Now he's out. How does this affect Oklahoma City?
Well, I feel bad. Like, it sucks for Holmgren. It sucks for Oklahoma City fans. Like, nobody likes to see that year pushed back. The good news, or good news is the wrong word. The silver lining in this is that while he's got to have surgery and he's out, it's a ligament issue, not a bone issue. The bone fractures in the foot tend to be the more chronic things. The ligament can heal, especially at his age. So knock on wood, this isn't turning out to be something chronic. It kind of sucks to be set back, but I don't know that it really changes where they were because I think as an organization, they're just still in asset acquiring mode, right? Like they've got, I forget the exact number, but it's roughly 3,026 picks over the next 7 years or something. Like they've got a ridiculous number of picks coming in. They're not going to be good this year. And even if Holmgren were playing, they'd be interesting. I think they'd be worth watching, but I don't think they're going to be particularly good. They're going to be in the mix to add more next year. So I think they're still kind of in that mode. I don't know that it really changes too much. Hopefully, I mean, I don't know how you feel. I just hope for his sake he can get right and get back out there next year. And, maybe this ends up being the Blake Griffin kind of thing. We're sitting on the bench for a year. You get to absorb watching the game. You get to absorb the game a little bit rather than just getting thrown into it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely unfortunate. I think he landed in a good spot because Oklahoma City, I don't know how they do this, Kurt. It blows my mind. I don't know how Sam Presti has created this environment, but there's it's like operating in a vacuum with no time. I have no idea how he does it. Like the fact that the fans, especially like post Kevin Durant, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, this patience that he has, got from the fan base, mind blowing. It's almost like because of all those picks you mentioned, people think that there must be some sort of master plan, so they're willing to trust the process. Something that we didn't see, in Philadelphia. And it's interesting because in Philadelphia, I think largely that was player driven, and it's like Ken Embiid, it was driven by like Embiid. And then when it didn't work out, they fired the head coach. And now they're trying to pick the pieces around Embiid, and it's coming down to, okay, Embiid, did you lie to us? Whereas this time it came from Presti, the GM, the front office, and I think there's a shield there. And I think it's interesting too because since he is the face of the organization, but he's also shielded because he's not on the court all the time, that he's just created this environment where there's space and time for a guy like Chet Holmgren to recover, take as much time as he needs, which is, the only other place that I could think of, well, there might be a couple, but the one that comes to my mind is Golden State, James Wiseman, right? But the difference is that Golden State just won a championship and they have Steve Kerr and Steph Curry and everyone else. So that's the difference, but the same amount of time to heal and recover. So I think that in that sense, that's the silver lining for Chet Holmgren. And for the team, I think it's going to go back to that idea of what's Sam Presti's master plan? Because I think it's been kind of invincible. Like he's kind of been untouchable in that sense because it reeks brilliance. Like you have to have something. But I think this is going to be a test to that master plan to see if it is as invincible as we think it is. Because right now, I don't understand where this team is going. And I don't know the master plan, but it just doesn't. Do you think Gilgeous-Alexander is the number one? Do you really think this is going to work? I don't know just how invincible this plan is. And I think that's the thing that's going to be tested. I'm not necessarily concerned about the performance of the young players. I think it's going to come down to Presti's vision.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I don't quite know what it's going to be. I'm not sure he knows, frankly. He's got to get these guys out there and see who's going to be what, right? Like, and hey, how good is Holmgren? Gideon Holmgren showed some chemistry in summer league, but that's a glorified pickup game. Like, what's it look like in actual competition? And we're not going to find out for a year. So we'll see. I think you're right, though, that they've done a good job of taking pressure off those players and not, hey, you don't have to develop today. You've got time to develop down the road. So I think they've done a really good job with that. I think, by the way, you mentioned Golden State. That pressure thing starts to change this year for them, right? With the roster changes they've had, with Otto Porter gone, like guys just stepping out that played a role for them last year. Kuminga and Wiseman are being asked to step up now, and not necessarily start, not necessarily play huge roles, but they've got to step in and play a role more consistently this year. And we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. I think Kuminga's up for the task. We'll see with Wiseman. But I think that a lot more is going to be asked of them in the regular season, at least. The no pressure situation is gone. This is a championship team, and they're going to be asked to play a role.
Yeah, I think absolutely, for sure. And then with Oklahoma City, the things that I'm looking for the season, because like you're right, you basically can kind of like you can just write it off, which is just a crazy concept, but it's true. I'm curious to see how Shai Gilgeous-Alexander continues to develop and mature. And then the other thing I think with Chet Holmgren is he's in an interesting position now, because there's like this weird tendency for people in basketball, well, people in sports, to basically associate you with something, right? It's like the word game. And right now the word is perhaps fragile, like what is that concept is what's his durability? And that was already a question, with his size being 7 foot, under 200 pounds coming into the NBA. How would he last? And I think that this is going to be something that he now has to disprove moving forward. And that's something that's always going to come up every time he's on the court. And there's that weird kind of thing, just because the way that the stories are told right now, everyone's going to watch Oklahoma City every single game. So now it's like, okay, well, every time he's on camera, they're going to bring up the injury. They're going to bring up, that idea of durability. And that's going to be on him now to dispel that narrative. And the list of players that he's on, as far as being a high draft pick that then sat out their first season, are players like Ben Simmons, players like Greg Oden, like you mentioned, Blake Griffin. So when I look at that list, or players like from Denver, Michael Porter Jr., like talented players, but like Michael Porter Jr., we still haven't really seen him play yet. Like we saw him like glimpses of brilliance, but we need to see him available, because he's a key component of that Denver team, playing alongside an MVP candidate. So, sorry, a perennial MVP candidate in Jokic. So I think that's going to be the key thing for him, to dispel that narrative and say, no, I'm not like those guys. I'm available and ready. And that's going to be very difficult to do, quite frankly.
Yeah, I agree. No, it's going to be on him, and it's going to be on him starting next season to show he can handle the physicality and the durability. Like you said, it's a grind, man. The body was not meant to run up and down a hardwood court, like that. That's not. It is hard on the body just playing basketball.